The tips scattered to the floor like loose change as Ryan Rhodes cursed under his breath, fingers fumbling to collect the meager earnings that represented 3 hours of deliveries on this rainy Tuesday night. $23, and change barely enough for gas, let alone helping with Maddie's upcoming school science fair project. Rain pattered against the windshield of his 12-year-old Honda Civic as he pulled up to the final delivery address, squinting through the foggy glass at what appeared to be not just a house, but a sprawling estate perched on the hillside overlooking the city. "You've got to be kidding me," Ryan muttered, double-checking the address on his pizza delivery app. After 8 months of delivering pizzas 4 nights a week to supplement his daytime warehouse job, he thought he'd seen every neighborhood in Oak Ridge, but this place with its wrought iron gates and winding driveway was definitely new territory. The security guard at the gate checked his ID and delivery confirmation before waving him through with surprising casualness, as if pizza guys rolled through these parts every day. Ryan navigated the curve of the driveway, the smell of pepperoni and mushroom pizza filling his car, his stomach growling in protest. He hadn't eaten since the peanut butter sandwich he'd shared with 7-year-old Maddie before dropping her at his sister's place for the evening. The mansion loomed ahead, 3 stories of modern architecture with floor-to-ceiling windows illuminated from within. Ryan parked, grabbed the insulated pizza bag, and jogged through the rain to the massive front door. His finger hesitated over the doorbell, suddenly aware of his rain-soaked Gino's pizza cap and splattered uniform. With a deep breath, he pressed the bell, hearing a melodic chime echo inside. The door swung open to reveal not a butler or housekeeper as he'd expected, but a woman about his age, early 30s, dressed in gray yoga pants and an oversized MIT sweatshirt. Her dark hair was piled messily atop her head, and she wore no makeup, yet there was something striking about her high cheekbones, intelligent hazel eyes, and a smile that seemed both surprised and amused. "Pizza delivery," Ryan said, unnecessarily stating the obvious while raindrops slid from his cap. "You're drenched," she said, stepping back. "Please come in for a moment." Ryan hesitated. "Company policy says I should stay at the door, madam." "It's pouring," she insisted, "and I need to find my wallet anyway. I promise not to report you to the pizza authorities." The warmth in her smile made it impossible to refuse. He stepped into an entryway larger than his entire apartment, boots squeaking against pristine marble floors. "I'm Katherine, by the way, Katherine Jennings." She extended her hand. "Ryan Rhodes," he replied, shifting the pizza to shake her hand, noting her firm grip. "I'd say nice place, but that seems like an understatement." Katherine laughed, the sound surprisingly down to earth for someone who lived in what could only be described as a palace. "It's ridiculous, isn't it? I just moved in a month ago, and I'm still getting lost finding the kitchen." She gestured for him to follow. "Speaking of which, that's where my purse is." Ryan followed, trying not to gawk at the artwork lining the hallway or the sweeping staircase that curved upward like something from a movie. The kitchen was all gleaming stainless steel and marble countertops, yet strangely, it held signs of actual use. A cookbook splayed open, a half-empty glass of red wine. "Do you live here alone?" The question slipped out before he could stop himself. "Sorry, that's none of my business." Katherine smiled as she rummaged through her purse. "I do actually. Well, me and about 50,000 square feet of unnecessary space." She pulled out her wallet. "How much do I owe you?" $24.50, Ryan said, placing the pizza on the counter. She handed him 2 20s. "Keep the change." "That's very generous," he said, pocketing the bills. "Thanks. Can I ask you something, Ryan?" Katherine leaned against the counter. "Is it always this lonely ordering pizza for one?" The question caught him off guard, not just its content but the vulnerability in her voice. For a split second, the vast chasm between their lives seemed to narrow. "I wouldn't know," he admitted. "When I order pizza, it's for me and my daughter, Maddie. She's 7. Pizza night is kind of our special thing." Something flickered in Katherine's eyes. "That sounds nice, having traditions." Ryan nodded, suddenly uncomfortable with how personal the conversation had become. "I should get going. More deliveries waiting." "Of course," Katherine straightened. Thanks for braving the storm to bring dinner. At the door, she surprised him again. Ryan. Gino's is now officially my favorite pizza place. I might have to order again soon. He tipped his soggy cap. Ask for me. I work Tuesday through Friday nights. As Ryan drove back down the winding driveway, he glanced in his rearview mirror at the mansion growing smaller behind him, wondering about the woman who lived there alone. It wasn't until he was halfway back to the pizza shop that he realized he was smiling. The next few days passed in Ryan's usual routine, waking at 5 to pack Maddie's lunch before his warehouse shift, picking her up from after-school care, making dinner, helping with homework, and then leaving her with his sister Tara on pizza delivery nights. Life as a single dad since Rachel walked out 2 years ago had been a constant juggling act, but Maddie was worth every exhausting minute. "Daddy, is space really infinite?" Maddie asked on Wednesday night, her science book open to a page filled with stars and galaxies. Ryan sat beside her at their small kitchen table, the dishes from dinner still soaking in the sink. "That's what scientists think, pumpkin. But how can anything be infinite? Everything has to stop somewhere." Her brow furrowed in concentration, reminding Ryan so much of himself that his heart squeezed. "Some things don't have endings," he said, thinking of his love for her. "They just keep going." Maddie considered this with all the seriousness a 7-year-old could muster. "Like how much I love mac and cheese," Ryan laughed, ruffling her blonde curls. "Exactly like that." When Thursday evening rolled around, Ryan was surprised to see a delivery order pop up for the address he now recognized, the Jennings mansion. The order was larger this time, one large supreme pizza, breadsticks, and a Caesar salad. "Company tonight," he murmured to himself, ignoring the slight disappointment the thought brought. Not that it mattered. Katherine Jennings and her world existed in a different universe from his. The same security guard waved him through. And this time, Ryan noticed more details about the estate, the manicured gardens, the separate garage structure that likely housed vehicles worth more than he'd earn in a decade, the subtle landscape, lighting illuminating the property. Money like this was foreign to him, almost abstract in its magnitude. Katherine opened the door in slim black pants and a silky blue top that brought out flecks of blue in her hazel eyes. Her hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, and Ryan immediately noted that she looked dressed for company. "You came," she said, sounding genuinely pleased. "You ordered pizza," he replied with a smile. "That's generally how this works," she laughed. "True, come in, please." "It's not raining this time, but I'd still like to avoid dropping cash on the doorstep." Ryan stepped inside, noticing classical music playing softly in the background. "Expecting guests?" he asked, nodding toward the elegant table setting visible through the archway. Katherine glanced over her shoulder. "Oh, no, actually, She hesitated. "I get tired of eating over the kitchen sink. Sometimes setting a proper place makes takeout feel more like a real meal." The admission, unexpectedly vulnerable, caught Ryan off guard. He studied her face, suspecting there was more to the story. "You ordered enough for at least 2 people. Leftovers," she said quickly. "For lunch tomorrow." Ryan nodded, pretending to believe her as she took the food and handed him payment again, far more than necessary. "This is too much," he protested. "Your daughter Maddie, right? Does she like science?" Katherine asked, seemingly changing the subject. Ryan blinked in surprise. "She loves it. How did you mentioned her age last time. Most second graders are into science. I was." "She's working on a project about the solar system," Ryan said, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "Wants to be an astronaut or a dinosaur scientist," her words. "Paleontologist," Katherine supplied with a smile. "Smart girl." "The smartest," Ryan agreed. "Takes after her mom that way." The words slipped out before he could catch them, and he immediately regretted bringing up Rachel. "But not after you," Katherine challenged gently. Ryan shrugged. "I'm just a guy with a high school diploma and 2 jobs. And yet you knew what a paleontologist was," she pointed out. "Intelligence isn't measured by degrees, Ryan." Their eyes met, and for a moment neither spoke. Ryan felt something shift in the air between them, a recognition, perhaps, or a possibility. It unnerved him. "I should go," he said, backing toward the door. "Enjoy your dinner." "Ryan," Katherine called as he reached for the doorknob. I'm having a charity event here next Saturday afternoon. For the Children's Science Museum, there will be some demonstrations, exhibits. Maybe Maddie would like to come. The invitation, so unexpected, left him momentarily speechless. I couldn't, as my guests, she clarified. No charge, it's from 2 to 5. Nothing fancy, just science and snacks. Kids from all over the city will be here. Ryan hesitated. Maddie would love it, but crossing this boundary felt complicated. Why? Katherine seemed taken aback by the directness of the question. Because science is important, because kids should have opportunities, because she stopped, then finished softly, because I'd like to see you again, outside of pizza delivery. The honesty of her answer disarmed him. I'll think about it, he promised, knowing already that he'd probably say yes, if only to see Maddie's face light up at the exhibits. As he drove away, Ryan couldn't help but wonder what a woman like Katherine Jennings saw in a struggling pizza delivery guy with a mountain of debt and responsibilities. Curiosity, boredom. Either way, he reminded himself, women who lived in mansions didn't end up with men who could barely keep the lights on. He'd learned the hard way with Rachel that some gaps couldn't be bridged. Friday night brought another order from the Jennings estate. This time, Katherine was on a video call when he arrived, dressed in a tailored blazer that screamed corporate executive. She motioned him in, holding up a finger to indicate she needed a minute. The proposal is solid, James, but the projections are too conservative, she was saying to a middle-aged man on her tablet screen. Our tech can revolutionize medical imaging. Let's not undersell it to investors. Ryan stood awkwardly, taking in the commanding tone of her voice, so different from their previous interactions. This was clearly a woman used to authority. Send me the revised deck by Monday, she continued. And tell Brandon I want actual clinical trial data, not just preliminary results. She ended the call and turned to Ryan with an apologetic smile. Sorry about that. Work never ends. What kind of work has you revolutionizing medical imaging? Ryan asked, genuinely curious. Katherine shrugged as if it were nothing special. I founded a biotech company developing more accurate, less invasive diagnostic tools. We're preparing for a new funding round. You founded a company. Ryan tried to keep the surprise from his voice. 10 years ago in my garage, she confirmed, handing him payment for the pizza. Now we have 300 employees. The casual mention of her success made Ryan's 2 jobs seem even more insignificant. That's impressive. It's just work, she said, though her eyes revealed pride. Have you thought about Saturday, the science event? Ryan nodded. Maddie's excited. I told her about the Science Museum exhibits, and she's been talking about nothing else. Katherine's face lit up. Great, come around too, just give your name at the gate. Ryan hesitated. Katherine, I should mention we won't exactly fit in with your usual crowd. She studied him for a moment. You know what I've learned building a company from nothing. The usual crowd is overrated. Bring Maddie, that's all that matters. Saturday arrived with perfect weather and a buzz of excitement in the Rhodes household. Maddie had changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on her favorite space-themed dress with planets and stars spinning across the fabric. Ryan had done his best with his limited wardrobe, opting for his 1 pair of non-work jeans and a blue button-down shirt he usually reserved for parent-teacher conferences. Daddy, is this a real castle? Maddie asked as they approached the gates, her eyes wide with wonder. Not quite pumpkin. It's just a very big house. Does a princess live there? Ryan thought of Katherine, brilliant, successful, beautiful. Something like that. The grounds had been transformed. Colorful tents dotted the expansive lawn, each housing different science demonstrations. Children of various ages raced between exhibits, their excited voices filling the air. Adults in casual but clearly expensive attire mingled, holding champagne flutes and discussing charitable contributions. Ryan immediately felt out of place, conscious of his worn shoes and the small tear in his sleeve he'd tried to mend. Maddie, however, was oblivious to any class distinctions, her attention captured by a demonstration of volcanic eruptions. Ryan, Maddie, you made it. Katherine approached them, radiant in a simple sundress that likely cost more than Ryan's monthly rent. Yet something in her genuine smile eased his discomfort. This place is amazing, Maddie exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Are you the princess who lives in the castle? Katherine laughed, crouching to Maddie's level. Not a princess, I'm afraid, just Katherine, and you must be the famous Maddie I've heard about. Your dad says you're quite the scientist. I know all the planets in order, Maddie announced proudly. Want to hear? Absolutely, Katherine said with such sincerity that Ryan felt a surge of affection for her. After Maddie's perfect recitation, Katherine guided them through the exhibits, introducing Ryan to various guests without any hint that he was different from the wealthy donors surrounding them. She seemed particularly interested in Maddie's reactions, crouching beside her at each demonstration to explain concepts in child-friendly terms. You're good with kids, Ryan observed as Maddie joined a group making slime at a nearby table. Katherine's smile faltered slightly. I always wanted children, it just hasn't happened yet. There's time, Ryan said gently, maybe. Her eyes followed Maddie. My doctor says the fertility treatments might work, but she stopped abruptly. Sorry, oversharing with the pizza guy. I'm off duty, Ryan reminded her. Just a regular dad today. Their eyes met, and Ryan felt that same connection from before, a current of understanding that defied their different circumstances. Katherine, a man's voice interrupted the moment. The museum director is looking for you. Right, she sighed. Duty calls. Will you both stay until the end? Maybe we could talk more. Ryan nodded, watching her walk away to greet an elderly man in an expensive suit. Throughout the afternoon, he caught glimpses of Katherine in her element, charming donors, explaining her vision for expanded science education, effortlessly navigating social interactions that would have left Ryan tongue-tied. Yet whenever she spotted him and Maddie, she'd wave or wink, as if they shared a secret. By the time the event wound down, Maddie had accumulated a bag full of science projects and a newfound determination to build robots. The crowds thinned until only a handful of staff remained, cleaning up the grounds. Did you have fun? Katherine asked, approaching them with a tired but satisfied smile. It was the best day ever, Maddie declared. I made slime and learned about electricity and saw real moon rocks. I'm glad, Katherine said sincerely. Science changed my life. I hope it might inspire you too. Ryan checked his watch. We should probably head home. Maddie has homework and I have an early shift tomorrow. Of course, Katherine said, her disappointment barely concealed. But before you go. She hesitated. Would you both like to see something special, just inside? Ryan should have said no. Should have maintained the boundaries between their worlds, but Maddie was already nodding enthusiastically, and he found himself following Katherine into her home. She led them to a room he hadn't seen before, a home office with a difference. One entire wall was a massive digital display showing what appeared to be a live feed from space. Is that, Ryan started. The International Space Station live feed, Katherine confirmed. I keep it running in the background while I work. Helps me keep perspective on my problems. Maddie's mouth formed a perfect O of amazement. You can see space from your house, just through NASA cameras, Katherine laughed. But yes, I watch the astronauts sometimes. They're up there right now, doing experiments and looking down at us. As Maddie pressed closer to the screen, entranced, Katherine turned to Ryan. I have a confession to make. What's that? I didn't need pizza all those times I ordered it. Ryan raised an eyebrow. I figured as much when you ordered anchovies last night. Nobody actually likes anchovies. She laughed. I wanted to see you again. I know it's unusual and probably inappropriate, and definitely not how people typically start relationships, but relationships. Ryan interrupted, the word hanging between them. Katherine's cheeks flushed. I'm saying this all wrong. Let me start over. She took a deep breath. Ryan Rhodes, would you and Maddie like to have dinner with me sometime? A proper dinner, not pizza. Though pizza is also acceptable if that's what Maddie prefers. The nervous rambling was so at odds with the confident businesswoman he'd observed earlier that Ryan couldn't help but smile. You're asking me out? Yes, she admitted. Is that okay? Ryan glanced at Maddie, still captivated by the space station feed. You do realize I come as a package deal, and it's not an easy package. Single dad, 2 jobs, mounting bills, an ex-wife who appears and disappears unpredictably. I know it's complicated, Katherine said softly. But in the 3 times we've met, I've felt more connected to you than to people I've known for years. I'd like to explore that, if you would." Ryan studied her face, searching for any sign of insincerity or casual curiosity. He found none. "Why me? You could have anyone." "Because you looked at me like a person, not a bank account," she said simply. "Do you know how rare that is in my world? Plus," she added with a small smile, "you're cute when you're flustered about tips." Ryan laughed, the tension breaking. "In that case, yes, we'd love to have dinner." Their first official date took place at Catherine's insistence in Ryan's small apartment, with Maddie as an enthusiastic chaperone. Katherine arrived with groceries, insisting on cooking despite Ryan's protests about his tiny kitchen. "My first apartment could fit in this kitchen," she told him, chopping vegetables with surprising skill. "This is luxury compared to grad school housing." As they prepared dinner together, Ryan learned more about the woman behind the mansion. How she'd grown up middle class in Ohio, earned scholarships to MIT, developed her medical imaging technology while still in graduate school, and built her company through sheer determination and countless sleepless nights. "It wasn't always like this," she admitted, stirring the pasta sauce. "For the first 5 years, I lived on ramen and slept on a futon in my office. The money only came recently when a larger medical company invested in our technology." "Is that why you bought the mansion?" Ryan asked. "A reward for all the hard work." Catherine's expression grew serious. "Honestly, I bought it because I thought that's what successful people do. Big achievement, big house. But now I rattle around in there like a marble in an empty jar. Most nights, I end up sleeping in the meteor room because the master bedroom feels too vast." The vulnerability in her confession touched something in Ryan. Here was a woman who had everything society deemed valuable, yet she was hungry for the simple connections that filled his daily life. "Daddy says home isn't about the size, it's about who's in it with you," Maddie piped up from where she was carefully arranging silverware on the table. Catherine's smile was warm as she glanced at Ryan. "Your daddy is very wise." The evening was comfortable, filled with laughter and Maddie's endless questions about Catherine's work. After dinner, Katherine helped with Maddie's bedtime routine, reading 3 stories before the little girl finally drifted off. "You're a natural with her," Ryan said as they sat on his worn couch, sharing the last of the wine Katherine had brought. "She makes it easy," Katherine replied. "She's an amazing kid, Ryan. You're doing a wonderful job with her." "I'm trying," he said honestly. "Some days are harder than others." Her mom left when Maddie was 5, said she wasn't cut out for the domestic life. The bitterness still tinged his voice. "She calls every few months, makes promises about visits that rarely happen." Katherine placed her hand over his. "That must be incredibly difficult for both of you." "It is what it is," Ryan shrugged. "But it makes me cautious about who I let into Maddie's life. She's had enough disappointment." Catherine's gaze was steady. "I understand, and I would never want to add to that. Whatever happens between us, I promise to be thoughtful about my place in her life." Ryan studied her face in the dim light of his apartment. "You're not what I expected, Katherine Jennings." "What did you expect? Someone more?" He searched for the right word. "Untouchable." She leaned closer. "Do I seem untouchable now?" When they kissed, it felt both inevitable and surprising gentle at first, then deepening with an intensity that left them both breathless. Ryan pulled back first, his heart racing. "We should probably slow down," he whispered, though his body disagreed entirely. Katherine nodded, her fingers still intertwined with his. "We have time." The weeks that followed established a new rhythm to Ryan's life. Katherine joined them for movie nights in his apartment and invited them to Sunday brunches in her sunlit kitchen. She attended Maddie's school science fair, cheering loudly when Maddie's solar system model won first place. Ryan found time between his jobs to help Katherine transform one of her many unused rooms into a child-friendly space, complete with a telescope positioned perfectly to view the night sky. They navigated the complexities of their different worlds with honesty and occasional humor. Katherine learned to adjust her expectations around Ryan's inflexible work schedule. Ryan worked to overcome his pride when Katherine's generosity extended to helping with unexpected expenses for Maddie. "It's not charity," she insisted when she paid for Maddie's emergency dental work after Ryan's insurance denied the claim. It's what people do when they care about each other. Their first major disagreement came 3 months into their relationship when Katherine suggested Ryan quit his pizza delivery job. "You're exhausted all the time," she pointed out over coffee in his kitchen one morning after Maddie had left for school. "The warehouse position pays your basic bills. You could use evenings to take classes, improve your options." Ryan's jaw tightened. "I don't need you to fix my life, Katherine. That's not what I'm trying to do," she insisted. "I just hate seeing you run yourself into the ground. And I hate the idea of depending on my girlfriend to support my family," Ryan shot back. "What happens if this doesn't work out? I'd be back at square one." The hurt that flashed across Katherine's face made him regret his words immediately. "Is that how you see us? As temporary?" Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "No, but I've been left before when things got tough. I need to know I can stand on my own 2 feet for Maddie's sake." Katherine was quiet for a long moment. "I understand pride, Ryan, but sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's strategy. A stepping stone to something better." They reached a compromise. Ryan would reduce his delivery hours and use the free evenings to enroll in business management courses at the community college, funded by a scholarship program that Katherine's company sponsored for adult learners, not directly from her. 6 months into their relationship, during a rare weekend getaway to Katherine's beach cottage, with Maddie happily spending time with Ryan's sister, Katherine revealed another layer of herself. "I've been thinking about selling the mansion," she said as they walked along the shoreline, the sunset painting the waves golden. Ryan looked at her in surprise. "Really? Why?" "Because it never felt like home," she admitted. "It was a status symbol, not a place where I belong." She stopped walking, turning to face him. "Ryan, these past months with you and Maddie have shown me what matters. I don't need 30 rooms and a staff to be happy. I need people who see me for who I am." Ryan pulled her close, the salt breeze swirling around them. "And who are you, Katherine Jennings? Just a woman who delivered life-changing medical technology to the world, and yet somehow couldn't figure out happiness until a pizza delivery guy showed up at her door," she said with a soft laugh. That night, as they made love with an intensity that left them both trembling, Ryan realized he had fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Katherine, not despite their differences, but because of the way they'd navigated them together. The way she challenged him to reach higher while respecting his independence. The way she loved Maddie with such genuine care. The way she could command a boardroom but still get giddy over successfully baking cookies from scratch. 3 days before Christmas, Ryan took his final exam for the semester, earning an in his business management course. He arrived home to find Katherine and Maddie decorating gingerbread houses at the kitchen table, flour dusting their cheeks, holiday music playing in the background. "We're making a gingerbread version of my house," Maddie announced. "And look, Daddy Katherine made little people to go inside. That's you and me and Katherine." Ryan examined the tiny gingerbread figures standing together in front of the lopsided house. "It's perfect," he said, his voice suddenly thick with emotion. Later that night, after Maddie had gone to bed, Katherine curled against him on the couch, her head on his shoulder. "I have news," she said quietly. Ryan tensed slightly, years of disappointment making him brace for the worst. "What kind of news?" "My company is being acquired by a larger medical corporation. The deal closes next week." "Katherine, that's incredible," Ryan said, genuinely happy for her success, even as he wondered what it might mean for them. More travel, a move to another city. "There's more," she continued, sitting up to face him. "Part of the deal is that I stay on as Chief Innovation Officer for 3 years. After that, I can choose to renew or walk away." "What do you want to do?" Her eyes met his, clear and certain. "I want to build a life that matters. Continue my work, yes, but also." She took a deep breath. "Ryan, I've found a house, not a mansion, a real home. 4 bedrooms, a yard for Maddie to play in, good schools nearby. It's halfway between your warehouse and my new office." Ryan stared at her. "You're buying a house based on my job location. I'm looking for a home that might work for all of us," she clarified. "If that's something you might want someday, no pressure, no timeline." The implication of her words, a future together, a shared home, both thrilled and terrified him. "What about the fertility treatments you mentioned? I know how much you want a child of your own." Katherine took his hand. "I want a family. With you, Maddie would be my daughter too if you're both comfortable with that eventually. And yes, I'd still like to try for another child someday. But first, I want us to build a solid foundation." Ryan was quiet for a long moment, processing the enormity of what she was suggesting. "You know I can't contribute equally to a house. Financially, I mean." "I don't care about equal dollars," Katherine said firmly. "I care about equal commitment. Equal effort, equal love, the rest is just logistics." Ryan thought about his journey over the past year, from exhausted single dad delivering pizzas to make ends meet, to a man finding his footing both professionally and personally, supported by a woman whose strength matched his own in different ways. He thought about Maddie, flourishing with Katherine's influence, gaining confidence, and a female role model who showed up consistently. "I love you," he said simply. "Whatever comes next, I know that much for certain." On Valentine's Day, Ryan proposed not with an expensive ring he couldn't afford, but with a simple silver band holding a small diamond purchased with his first bonus from his new management position at the warehouse. Katherine cried when he knelt before her in the garden of the new house, their house, with Maddie bouncing excitedly beside them. "You delivered more than pizza that night," Katherine said through tears as he slipped the ring onto her finger. "You delivered the missing piece of my life." They were married the following summer in the backyard of their home, with Maddie serving as both flower girl and self-appointed ring security. Katherine wore a simple white dress. Ryan wore the first suit he'd ever owned, and their vows spoke of building bridges between different worlds to create something new together. 2 years later, as Ryan pursued his business degree while managing the warehouse operations, and Katherine continued revolutionizing medical diagnostics from her home office 3 days a week, their family expanded with the birth of twins, a boy and a girl who entered the world under the watchful eye of medical imaging technology that their mother had helped create. On nights when the babies were finally asleep and Maddie was engrossed in her latest science experiment, Ryan and Katherine would sometimes sit on their porch swing, marveling at the journey that had brought them together. "Do you ever miss the mansion?" Ryan asked one evening, his arm around her shoulders. Katherine looked at their modest home, lights glowing warmly in the windows, children's toys scattered across the lawn, the telescope Maddie used for her astronomy club visible through the den window. She thought of the laughter that filled these rooms, the challenges they'd faced together, the love that had transformed both their lives. "Not for a single second," she said, and kissed the pizza delivery man who had delivered her heart back to her, one unexpected order at a time.